Good morning. My name is Steve Pierce. If you've not previously met me, I am one of the dual James Belmont and Steve Pierce. That's James, my husband, over there. You can wave, James. A short while ago, Jim and I were asked if we would be willing to share some of our thoughts on stewardship, because it's just that time of year. And for those of you who are in a relationship, you understand that when a couple gets a request like that, there can be a lot of conversations and maybe even some agitation over, okay, who is going to do this? Well, after quite some conversations, we flipped a coin. Jim won, I lost, so I am here. Ben tells us that we are followers of Jesus. When Jim and I were beginning our journey to sort out our move from Malden to Fitchburg, finding a church was right next to finding the right condominium. We were looking for a home. Well, actually, two homes. A home where Jim and I and our two cats, whom we call our girls, would be comfortable, and where Jim and I could slowly move towards retirement in a location which was also close to our son and his husband. We also, though, we needed to find a church home because Jim and I love Jesus. And we have learned over the years, and Carolyn and Ben have said this to us consistently, that if one is to love Jesus and follow Jesus, you do this best in a community. So as we shopped for a condo, we also shopped for a church. This was the first church that we visited. First, we went online, and then we showed up one Sunday, and we had an interesting time. So here we were shopping around. And wonder of wonders, we found a condo which was just about 2 miles from our son. And as those of you understand the dynamics of family, it was not too close and not too far, right? And when we walked into these doors, we found a church home. What drew us was your warm hospitality, your openness to us as a couple, and the engaging and awe-filled liturgy led by Carolyn and Ben. You love Jesus, and you work hard to sort out what it means to follow Jesus. Now, following Jesus every day is sometimes okay and sometimes not, because there are those days. And you know what I'm talking about. What Jim and I have come to find as we've gotten older is that in all of these days, all of them, there is always one who is for us and with us, who sustains us through the challenges and holding us when we are not able to sustain ourselves. And thanks be to God, that is Jesus and our relationship with Him. Jesus is the ground of our life, and in living that life, we make Jesus real in our daily lives and interactions. Jesus embodied, another word for incarnation, in His birth, life, death, and resurrection, God's never-ending love for all of creation. He did so knowing that this was God's desire. Just as it was God's desire, it became Jesus' desire to share that message with others and invite them into that level of a faith-filled life to embody the loving God. That invitation has now continued for well over 2,000 years, depending on how you want to count time. Jesus invites us into a covenant with others, where we become a band of disciples who desire to deepen our faith as we follow Jesus in our daily lives, and we then become a family, which in today's vernacular, I'm going to call it a church family. As any family does, we settle into a home which we and God have built. In that church home, we embody God's never-ending love and care for all of creation, just as Jesus embodied all that God desired. By so doing, we embody Jesus for our family, our neighborhood, our state, our nation, and our world. For us gathered here today, that local embodiment in Fitchburg is called Christ Church. If our call is to be in relationship as family, and our task is to support each other in living out our call, can you imagine what it would be like for us to be a follower of Jesus without Christ Church? Christ Church is our holy home, and from this home we find sustenance through our shared life of faith in our liturgy, the preached word, the sacraments, especially the Eucharist, and those holy moments of conversation before, after the liturgy, and perhaps maybe occasionally during the liturgy, and in one other spot. If we so choose, our coffee hour continues that conversation, which is holy. This is where we are nurtured, challenged, forgiven, and redeemed. And my brothers and sisters, it happens to us every Sunday. And so, partaking of this rich and ancient liturgy, we are then strengthened and empowered to walk daily with Jesus, with each other, with our family, the neighborhood, the state we live in, the nation we live in, and the world. And you know what? We walk that walk through good and bad times. And we do this best when we walk the talk. And that means committing our time, talent, and treasure to live our covenant. A wise person once suggested to me that the ultimate destination for a faith-filled life is to fall more deeply in love with God day by day. We do this best by following Jesus. So as we fall more deeply in love with God, this can be embodied. This can be made real in flesh and blood, in words and deeds, through a growing commitment of our time, our talent, and our treasure. If it is true that to every season there is a time, this is the time to pray, to ponder, and to pray again over how your life can embody Jesus more deeply as you consider how you will pledge your time, talent, and treasure. Thanks be to God for Jesus. Thanks be to God for this gift of a holy room in God's house, right here, Christ Church, in which we can dwell together as a family. And thanks be to God that we can, we will, and we will be the ones who embody Jesus in the world. Amen.